Morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ and here is your detailed rainfall update for North Queensland, valid for February 6, 2025. A lot to get through today. Heavy rain and thunderstorms materialising across North Queensland as expected last night have caused significant rises in river levels, and with more rainfall on the way over the next 4 days, we could be seeing some additions to the flooding emergency currently unfolding across North Queensland. I'm getting into detail about that and also the tropical cyclones offshore from Western Australia and the severe thunderstorm risk for New South Wales. All of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. If you are brand new to the channel, please consider subscribing. But let's get stuck straight into things this morning over in North Queensland. You can see over the radar imagery for the last 12 hours, there have been some heavy falls here and there, especially inland. We have had some pretty big accumulations over the past 48 hours inland around Hughenden and Maxwellton. We've also had some decent accumulations along the coastline south of Cairns through the Hawkesbury coast, down through Cardwell and Ingham, and then right through Townsville, Ayr, and down towards Bowen as well. I was unaware, but yesterday in the 24 hours to 9 a.m, Hamilton Island picked up a whopping 322 millimetres of rainfall, and that makes sense. We've just had some stagnant showers sitting down there, adding to the flooding problems that they're also receiving down in the Whitsundays and along the Whitsunday coastlines. We've had some significant rainfall, like I said, with the biggest accumulations around Ingham being up to about 130 millimetres overnight, which has caused a sharp rise in the Herbert River once again, and the waters at Halifax just refusing to ease off at this time. They are very slowly beginning to drop now, but with further additions to the river expected, we're not expecting these water levels to drop anytime soon. We actually had a pretty good ease off in terms of the floodwaters around Townsville, especially around the Ross River and in the Bolly River. Actually, would like to emphasise that those river levels got down towards the minor or even below the minor flooding alerts. However, with the rainfall that fell around Townsville last night, where the metro area got about 60 to 80 millimetres, and then some of the areas out towards Mount Stewart and into the Ross River catchment, they picked up closer to 125 millimetres. There have been some sharp rises in the water levels there. Keep in mind, any rainfall that falls from now on up in North Queensland for at least the next week or so, and provided they don't get any more sunlight or any significant stint of sunlight up there, will just become runoff. It will flow into the creeks, and it will take a lot less rainfall to flood or significantly flood these rivers that have already been flooded. So very important to keep that in the back of your head. Rainfall that won't typically cause significant flooding could cause some really significant flooding or some significant additions to the water levels compared to a normal situation up in North Queensland. Anyways, let's just jump straight into that forecast right now and have a look at what's expected throughout the remainder of today and throughout the remainder of this week. So heavy rain and showers still continuing around Townsville. They're now clearing out, moving out towards Ayr and Home Hill and Guru. We've still got some heavy showers here and there inland out towards Charters Towers. They're also clearing out, and you're expecting the rainfall to continue clearing out throughout the remainder of today. Later on this afternoon and evening, we could be seeing some heavy rainfall set itself up along the Whitsundays around Hamilton Island, and then inland towards Proserpine and south of Bowen. We could be seeing some isolated pockets of heavy rainfall there, and then heavy rainfall, showers and storms expected inland from Townsville along the Harvey Range, and then up towards Cardwell and Ingham. We could be seeing a couple of good showers and storms materialising out there, but I don't expect anything too significant in the way of rainfall later on today and into towards tonight. We will see those, like I said, heavy showers along the coastline between Townsville down towards Mackay, and Townsville itself could be picking up a couple of good drops of rainfall, especially later on tonight. But in terms of really heavy stuff and really consistent, predictable heavy rainfall, I don't really see an awful lot of it coming through tonight, and I reckon the largest accumulations to 9 a.m. tomorrow will only be around 125 millimetres, and again, that'll be reserved for Hamilton Island and the Whitsundays around Proserpine. Still a significant amount of rainfall and will add to the flooding problem in the Proserpine and the Pioneer Rivers right now, but considering the average rainfall accumulation to be between 40 and 80 millimetres along the coastline, it's not actually that much in the grand scheme of things. More rainfall expected to come through on Friday. In fact, we're expecting some heavy falls to materialise for locations between up through Townsville, Ingham, Cardwell and the Herbert River area, and about as far north as Cairns, with isolated heavy falls around the Cardwell and the Ingham area turning into intense rainfall later on Friday night. So we really do need to keep an eye on this. We could be seeing a boatload of rainfall move through on Friday night here, and again, between the other forecast models, they're all calling for pretty much the exact same thing here. It certainly does look like Friday night will be the wettest night. Going in towards Saturday morning, we'll certainly be seeing some intense falls around the North Queensland area, and you can see the rainfall, like I said, continuing through Saturday morning here, and in fact, it doesn't really ease off throughout Saturday, once again piping up into intense rainfall for locations between Ayr, Guru, up between Townsville and through the Herbert River, and up about as far north as Tully and Innisfail is where the heaviest falls are going to be on both Friday night right through Saturday and into early Sunday morning. There'll be rainfall throughout Sunday as well, but it will clear out temporarily in the morning before piping up again in the evening by the looks of things, with some isolated heavy falls here and there expected around Cardwell and Ingham around Sunday night and towards early Monday morning. And again, between the other forecast models, this trough line here is very, very predictable at this time, so there's no real discrepancy here, which means what I'm saying here on the forecast is very likely to materialise, give or take a few discrepancies here and there, including time and location. There will be some minor changes here and there, but in terms of the heavy falls, they're very, very predictable at this time. The monsoon trough will ease off, and that's what's been driving all of this rainfall, but it will ease off through Sunday night into early Monday morning, and whilst some good falls are expected as the low pressure system moves across the Cape York Peninsula throughout Monday for locations between Townsville inland towards Georgetown, and then from Georgetown up towards Cairns, just in this kind of area through here, with the heaviest falls being south of the Atherton Tablelands and into the mountains adjacent from Cardwell and Ingham. Unfortunately, just where the Herbert River basically drinks from, that's where the heaviest falls are going to be on Monday and Tuesday, and we could be seeing some really heavy falls then. And then Tuesday morning, when this low pressure system gets itself out to sea, thankfully it looks like the rainfall will ease off there. And whilst there will still be showers here and there, it looks like for the most part throughout the remainder of next week and into early next weekend, it looks like it is going to be dry, and then dry, with no real return to the rainfall or no legitimate turn to the rainfall that I can see on the forecast here, or even between other forecast models. There's no crazy uptick in rainfall beyond about Tuesday or Wednesday. Definitely by Tuesday night, the rainfall will be pretty much cleared out of North Queensland, which is very, very good to see, very exciting to see, and I imagine a lot of people very, very happy to hear that there's only a couple more days of rainfall, and I can put a number on it now, probably about 5 more days of rainfall here up in North Queensland, of significant rainfall, that being showers, of course, will linger for a lot longer than that. It is the wet season, of course. So let's just recap on that. There's been heavy rainfall overnight Wednesday into Thursday. We're expecting heavy showers to materialise tomorrow night and into Saturday, and then those heavy showers and rain bands continuing through Saturday and in towards Sunday morning. We're expecting an uptick in the rainfall again Sunday night into Monday morning around this part of Queensland, here where the coast is circling Cardwell and Ingham and where the Herbert River drinks from. So with this rainfall event here, or the second round of rainfall that North Queensland is getting, I mean, we probably should be talking about this month of rainfall that's coming in for far North Queensland. It's got a lot of moving parts to it, and there's been 3 parts to this one here, with the first part pretty much completely done and gone by now. The rainfall now clearing out of Townsville, and it is moving steadily off to sea, so the rainfall is pretty much more or less done, but we do still have some heavy falls expected, like I said, Friday through Saturday and Sunday, with spot falls up to about 300 millimetres expected along the coastline in 24-hour periods, and widespread falls above 150 millimetres up to about 250 millimetres possible. I expect the heaviest falls to be around the Cardwell and the Ingham area over the next 5 or 6 days. They're absolutely saturated. They absolutely do not need any more rainfall up there, and they've also been the ones that have unfortunately copped the heaviest falls over the last couple of weeks as well. So again, that's kind of a bit of a dire forecast for them. If we were to touch on those rainfall accumulations right now, whilst the numbers aren't absurd anymore, we're not seeing any kind of swathes of white which indicate 700 or 800 millimetres of rainfall, because a lot of that has already fallen in the last couple of days. We're still looking at some pretty significant rainfall accumulations here and there, and I do actually believe that the Eastern Weather forecast model here, which is the one that we're looking at, is lowballing this just a little bit. So starting from the north and heading south, like I've been saying in the Daintree, you're not expecting too much in the way of rainfall, up to about 200 millimetres expected at the most around sort of Mossman, on top of the rainfall that's already fallen there. So nothing too significant, nothing too crazy expected into the Daintree rainforest. Cairns, I expect, will receive at least another 200 more millimetres on top of the rainfall that they've already received, but it will happen over the next 5 days, so nothing especially heavy can be expected in the Cairns area. A lot of this rainfall will be streaming in from inland as well, from just slow-moving showers going to develop over the ranges. So whilst Cairns is in the firing line for some pretty significant falls, it doesn't look like Cairns itself is going to get the majority of the rainfall. It looks like it will get wrung dry over the mountains adjacent to Cairns before it gets itself over the metro area, or the town centre, I should be saying. In the Atherton Tablelands, falls between 200 and 400 millimetres are possible. I reckon both Atherton, Mareeba and Ravenshoe will get closer to about the 250 to 300 millimetre side of things, with spot falls, like I said, up to 400 millimetres possible. South of Innisfail is where the real rainfall is going to be piping up. I reckon around the Tully and the Tully River catchment area, there will be isolated falls up to 750 millimetres over the next 5 days. I do expect the majority of rainfall accumulations here to be between 400 and 550 millimetres. I do expect Tully to be on the upper end of that at about 550 millimetres. Further south down towards Cardwell, probably about 500 millimetres expected for the Cardwell town site, with isolated falls in and around Cardwell averaging between 400 and 600 millimetres, with a few falls a little bit higher than that possible. Ingham and Lucinda and Halifax, I reckon they're going to get a further 400 millimetres on top of what has already fallen down there. Probably a little bit more into some of the mountainous areas adjacent to Ingham, especially where the Herbert River feeds from. Whatever water falls in this sort of area here will just flow straight into the Herbert River and cause some significant flooding problems for them. I do expect some spot falls around here, especially around the Cardwell Gap, which has been notoriously wet over the last week, to be up around the 500 millimetre mark. And then further down the coastline at Paluma Dam, Rollingstone, and then down towards Townsville, falls averaging between 350 and 500 millimetres, with spot falls higher up to about 700 150 millimetres at Paluma Dam. I can expect that just considering the amount of rainfall that has fallen already, and just the fact that that sets a pretty good precedence for some really significant falls. I'm really interested to see what rainfall comes through Friday night into Saturday morning in this part of Queensland here, and then again Saturday night into Sunday morning, with some very slow moving and some very heavy rainfall bands expected to move through. So again, because we're talking about rainfall bands here, and then because they're going to be slow moving, the rainfall will actually be quite hit and miss, or it will be hit and miss to a pretty significant degree. So whilst locations could receive some very significant falls, your mate down the road might actually pick up a lot less rainfall. But in terms of the flooding risk, considering the fact that pretty much all water is going to become runoff, flooding is expected, whether it's minor, whether it's major at this point. It's not expected to rise above the flooding levels reached last week, so I do expect there to be no further additions to the significant damage that we've already seen from floodwaters here. What's already been inundated will continue to be inundated, and I don't expect new areas to be flooded, which is what I'm trying to say with that mess of a sentence. Down towards Townsville, about 250 to 300 millimetres expected on top of the rainfall that they've already received here, with spot falls in the Harvey Range, and outside of Townsville up to about 450 millimetres. Spot falls up to about 400 millimetres expected down towards Ayr, with widespread falls about 200 to 250 millimetres expected there. Inland down towards Charters Towers, about 200 millimetres expected for Charters Towers and Ravenswood. And then rainfall down the coastline further south of Ayr is a little bit of a wild card at this time. Whilst we're still going to be seeing plenty of showers, the rainfall is very uncertain, with anywhere between 80 to 200 millimetres expected for Bowen over the next 5 days, and probably a little bit more than that. I reckon Hamilton Island will end up with about 350 millimetres. Proserpine as well will get close to 350 or 400 millimetres, and then Yalborough and Gargett, the mountains outside of Mackay, I reckon they're going to be getting up to about 400 millimetres as well, when Mackay only picks up maybe a couple of hundred at the very most. Somewhere between 80 to 200 millimetres can be expected for Mackay, and then the rainfall pretty much stopping on a dime there. It doesn't really materialise south of Serena, West Hill, and certainly down towards Ogmore as well. We haven't touched on central Queensland at all in the last week, so I do apologise to all my central Queensland viewers, but again, there's just been nothing in the way of rainfall to talk about down there. You're just getting residual showery stuff, nothing significant and nothing causing flooding problems there. The rainfall is also going to be very prominent inland as well. Out towards Croydon and Georgetown, you're looking at falls between 150 and 350 millimetres over the next 5 days, with heavier falls along the Carpentaria coastline into the north western corner of Queensland between Burketon out towards Corumba. Falls will stop pretty much on the coastline as well, and whilst they will penetrate inland out towards Huandon and Maxwellton, I'm not expecting significant falls around the Julia Creek, Mount Isa or Cloncurry area. Just a couple of millimetres out there from thunderstorms and showers streaming in, but again, nothing significant can be expected there. Into the flooding risk, that's a very important factor of this forecast here, especially for North Queensland. Now, considering a lot of these rivers are already flowing hard and fast at this time, especially the Tully River, the Johnston River, and the Herbert River, they're all flowing very hard and fast, with plenty of rainfall filling their catchments overnight. Again, I'm expecting moderate to major riverine flooding for both the Johnston and the Tully Rivers. I would expect a high chance of moderate flooding for the Russell River that flows through Innisfail, but I don't expect that to get up towards the major flooding alert. It does take quite a lot to flood the Russell, and whilst a lot of rainfall is going to be coming through, they haven't had an awful lot in the past couple of days, and as such the water has had time to recede there, so I don't expect rainfall accumulations around the Russell River to be as high, and as such the flooding accumulations there, or the flooding levels, shouldn't be as high either. The poor Herbert River, I mean, it breaks my heart to see the rainfall that's coming through for the Herbert River. It is really hard to watch and really hard to forecast this sort of stuff as well, but whatever's been lost in Ingham and Halifax, which is a great percentage of both towns, in fact Halifax has been pretty much a total loss as per some estimations right now. Whilst some of the suburbs or some of the houses on some of the outer streets are fine around Halifax, there's been plenty of flooding and plenty of inundation across a lot of property, and the water levels of the Herbert River at Halifax have only dropped by a couple of centimetres over the last few days, and with further additions with the rainfall expected, it's going to be a long time until those water levels begin to budge in a negative direction around Halifax, unfortunately. So I do expect around Halifax and the Herbert River there, and even out towards Trebon and Ingham as well, the Herbert River there, I expect sharp rises in the water over the coming couple of days, but definitely no drops until at least Monday or Tuesday. Halifax, I reckon the water levels will take until at least Thursday or Friday, the 13th or the 14th of February to begin properly receding down there, so not looking too good for the Herbert River. A lot of the creeks adjacent to the coastline extending between Ingham down towards Townsville, they're already flowing very hard as well, and more rainfall expected there will cause them to rage, so further cuts in the Bruce Highway is expected, and whatever's been restored in terms of the road around the Bruce Highway as well, I expect to be severed or destroyed, or very heavily damaged the lowest side of things as well. Significant falls also into the Burdekin will cause some flooding as well around Charters Towers. That's already back up to the major flooding alert, with water levels approaching the bridge at Charters Towers now. and I expect water levels around Ayr and Home Hill and also around Guru from the Horton River and the Burdekin River as well to reach significant flooding levels, at least moderate, possibly up towards major, especially in the Horton River. I'm expecting major flooding around the Guru area. For Townsville as well, the Ross River and the Bolly Rivers, I'm expecting sharp upticks in the water there. I reckon both will get up to moderate flooding alerts again. I would be surprised if the Ross River got to major flooding, but I would not be surprised if the Bolly River got up towards major flooding, especially come Friday night and Saturday morning. I would expect major flooding in the Bolly River once again. The Ross River, they've dumped enough water as to where that's not a huge concern at this time, but still significant inundations because of the sheer mismanagement of the water around the Ross River can still be expected, unfortunately. Further south, the Proserpine and the Pioneer Rivers expecting significant volumes of water to be feeding into those locations as well, and as such, some significant flooding is possible of the Proserpine River, especially considering the rainfall will be coming through this weekend, and some significant falls also expected into the Pioneer River catchment as well, which will cause minor to moderate flooding around Marion and then in towards Mackay as well. I hope that's covered it for the flooding risk. The Gilbert River as well, I don't want to forget about the guys out in the inland, Cape York Peninsula, and then over in towards the northwestern corner of Queensland rather. The Gilbert River is at a chance of moderate flooding. There is a moderate flooding alert there, but again, taking a lot of water to flood the Gilbert, and I don't expect significant major flooding to unfold there. Certainly not going to open up an inland sea. I don't reckon that that's a possibility at this time. Whilst a lot of rainfall is expected, it's not going to be stupendous around the Georgetown or the Croydon area, and not enough to open an inland sea by the looks of things, at least on this forecast right now. But yeah, in terms of the flooding, the rainfall, and everything else happening up in far north Queensland, I hope this forecast has answered all of your questions. There'll be another one later on this afternoon and evening, and I know I was a bit of a motor mouth yesterday. You're right, I was on the caffeine yesterday, so thank you to everyone for pointing that out. I hope my speech has been a little bit slow today, but we have to speak fast at this time of the year. There's so much stuff to get through, and I don't want these videos to become more of a podcast type listen, so we're going to have to really ramp things up here over the coming couple of days, that's for sure, with plenty more rainfall expected. But that's enough on North Queensland. Let's just head over to New South Wales and southeast Queensland and give them a bit of love as well. There's a couple of severe thunderstorms. They had a good round of severe thunderstorms last night, especially into inland northern parts of New South Wales, with a few more storms expected later on this afternoon and evening, especially around the Moree and the Lightning Ridge area. A couple of thunderstorms expected there, and a few thunderstorms also expected into the southeast corner of Queensland, extending out towards Toowoomba and then inland up towards Roma and Charleville. We could be seeing some good storms there, and severe thunderstorms expected inland across interior parts of Queensland as well. Severe thunderstorms expected across the south and the south central parts of New South Wales and into the eastern half of Victoria as well throughout tomorrow after a very warm day. In fact, a very warm couple of days through Victoria and New South Wales, with severe thunderstorms expected extending north from a line of Albury up through Griffith and then up towards Cobar and Broken Hill, and then severe thunderstorms as well expected into the Gippsland region of Victoria and then around the Canberra, the Bega and the Captain's Flat area as well on Friday afternoon and evening. Severe thunderstorms continuing through Saturday afternoon and evening as well, with some heavy falls actually expected around Mallacoota and Bega on Saturday night. Severe thunderstorms will move into the northeastern corner of New South Wales along the coastline north of Cessnock, Taree and Newcastle, and then up towards Coffs Harbour and inland towards Tamworth and into the northern rivers section of New South Wales on Sunday night, and then those thunderstorms will move much further north as well up into the true northern rivers and the true northeast of New South Wales before crossing the border north of Moree and Woolgat and Lightning Ridge and then extending inland out towards Woonaring and then right out towards the South Australia border with New South Wales and Queensland as well. So plenty of thunderstorms expected to go around this weekend, Sunday and in towards Monday. Severe thunderstorms expected along the Sunshine Coast on Tuesday night as well, and then those thunderstorms and those thunderstorm risks look to die down beyond about Wednesday or Thursday, and then the forecast just becomes a little bit more murky beyond about the 12th or the 13th of February. So we'll keep close tabs on New South Wales and Queensland over the coming couple of days. Any questions or comments on the severe thunderstorm risk, let me know in the comment section down below. Obviously not a priority here at the CyclonesOZ channel, but certainly worth airtime, that's for sure. The thunderstorms expected over in New South Wales and the southeast of Queensland. Let's talk tropical now. We have plenty of stuff to get through offshore from Western Australia. We've got two powerful tropical cyclones, one in the making and one has already attained a pretty significant intensity. This is Tropical Cyclone Vince over here, a Category 4 strength severe tropical cyclone, and has looked very impressive over the last couple of hours, that's for sure. I mean, you can see here on the satellite imagery, it has managed to squeeze itself out an eye by the looks of things, and a pretty defined eye at that. And it looks like it is continuing to intensify right now, even in the fate of some pretty ugly conditions right now. It's got plenty of wind shear that it's battling, and the sea temperatures are now starting to fall off a cliff. You can see well offshore from Western Australia as well. In fact, it's about you could fit Australia in this kind of gap through here. That's how far Tropical Cyclone Vince is offshore, and it's not actually in the Australian area of responsibility, which means there's a different organisation over in Mauritius that's tracking this tropical cyclone at this time. The one that the Bureau of Meteorology is tracking is Tropical Cyclone Talia up here, a Category 3 strength severe tropical cyclone just towards the southeast of West Island and towards the southwest of Christmas Island as well. This system here, I don't actually know where the Bureau of Meteorology got Category 3 status from. It's certainly not a severe tropical cyclone. It's battling wind shear. It's battling some very hostile conditions right now. And whilst it's blowing up some significant convection, it is sheared to tiers, which means that the vertical stacking, the structure of this system, is absolutely appalling. And that's one thing that tropical cyclones and thunderstorms, and how you can differentiate between them. Thunderstorms love wind shear. Tropical cyclones, which are very organized, they hate wind shear. And this system is finding itself in a very wide swathe of some high wind shear values, and as such, it is struggling immensely this morning. It's still forecast to get to a respectable intensity, and I don't really know why the forecast models are wrapping this system up, considering it is kind of a carcass of a tropical cyclone right now. But through Friday and Saturday, I'm expecting intensification of this system, whether it's brief, whether it's long term, I'm not exactly sure. Before it heads over the tracks where Tropical Cyclone Vince has been over, by the looks of things, come around Sunday or Monday, and then it looks like some weakening will start to kick in there, but a really, really small system. It never gets up to a significant size, even though the convection and the structure of this system will indicate that it is a significant size here. But my hunch on the forecast is that it's going to keep meandering around as a very highly wind sheared storm. It's not going to get up towards Category 4 or 5 status at all. I reckon it's going to kind of hover around Category 2 or Category 3 status, unless it can organise itself over the next 48 hours, and it looks like it's going to begin terminal weakening come around Monday or Tuesday. I'd also like to point out we've got a tropical cyclone here careening into the WA coastline sometime around Tuesday or Wednesday, the 11th or 12th of February, which is quite interesting indeed, especially considering the other forecast models. They're not overly fond of it right now, but I do expect a low-pressure system to begin developing offshore from Western Australia, come around the 12th or the 13th of February. The Eastern Wave doesn't really know what it's talking about in terms of where this tropical cyclone is expected to track. I mean, you can see it kind of takes a couple of days vacation up in the Pilbara or the Kimberley region, an awful time of the year to take a vacation up there, that's for sure. But this system gets itself across the coast. It's what looks like a powerful cyclone on Wednesday and then in towards the Pilbara, and it sits there until about Sunday or Monday until it finally begins to die off. Of course, this is just a forecast here, and I don't actually expect it to materialize like this. I actually reckon it's going to end up being more like the GFS forecast here, where we see that low pressure system take a couple of days to stew and develop, and then something developing around the 15th or the 16th or the 17th of February. Whether it's a strong tropical cyclone or a weak mess or it doesn't form at all, there's still a lot of discrepancies here, but this one here looks like it's going to go into Western Australia, at least on this forecast, on the 21st of February, a full week later than what the Eastern Weather was saying. So again, we will have to wait and see what's actually expected here, and you can see later on in the forecast period, the GFS and the Eastern Weather couldn't be further apart in terms of what they are forecasting here. But yeah, interesting stuff, that's for sure. If this was to materialise and go into the WA coastline as a strong tropical cyclone, especially around the Karratha area with some good road networks, I would be down to chase that. I would be up there chasing this tropical cyclone and giving live reports on it, especially if it was a powerful system. I've never done a tropical cyclone chase before, and I am itching to do one. So I'm not hopeful of this system. I don't really think that it's going to form, and I certainly don't want it to careen in towards Western Australia. But at this time, I'm certainly starting to think about clearing my schedule beyond about the 20th of February, that's for sure, for a 2-day chase up in the Kimberley, or not the Kimberley, the Pilbara region of Western Australia. It'd be very interesting to see what actually happens with this tropical cyclone, that's for sure. Just throwing it out here so I don't forget on this YouTube channel. Anyways, that basically does it for today's forecast update. If I've left any of your questions or comments unanswered in the, please do let me know in the comment section down below, and also hit me up on Facebook as well. I'm very responsive to messages over there, and if you've got photos, especially videos as well, of the flooding up in North Queensland, then please don't hesitate to send them through. I would love to see them as well. Like I said in yesterday's forecast update, heading away on a holiday between Sunday and I think it's Saturday the 9th to the 15th of February. Yes, it is. I can't believe I forgot that. Much anticipated a holiday, but unfortunately there won't be any video updates during that time. So special shout out to the channel sponsors. The list keeps growing and growing and growing, and their support couldn't be any more appreciated on this channel. But that is all from me today, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.